Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us today to stay curious. We might be curious a little bit about what's behind me here. Two shuttles on a launch pad, A and B, 39A and B. That's right. We're going to talk about that happening in space history 13 years ago. We've got shuttles of May that we're going to talk about. 10 shuttles flown in May, including the the maiden flight of OV-105 Endeavour, as well as the final Hubble repair mission we're going to talk about, which my beautiful green screen plays into. And I got my little, oh, I got the other one over there. Okay, let me reach over here and let you see that shuttle over there on the pad as I adjust one of my studio lights there. And thank Marty Winkle, my cameraman, co-producer, for 562 episodes. Over 2 years, we've been helping you stay curious on YouTube, Facebook Live, Spotify, and Twitch. So we appreciate everybody telling their friends to watch us on YouTube, follow us, share, and subscribe to us because it's important to our nonprofit. The American Space Museum, for over 21 years, has been preserving the birth of America's space age right here in its delivery room, Brevard County, Florida. And Marty and I are sitting literally 10 miles away from Kennedy Space Center in a gigantic vehicle assembly building that everybody seems to turn their heads and look as they're going down Route 1, north and south, to see that magnificent structure that today's got the Artemis SLS rocket housed in it. We are going to talk about the shuttles of May. That's why we got this picture behind me here. 10 shuttles launched in, we're going to talk about a couple of the shuttles of May today. 10 shuttles launched. 65 astronauts can say they orbited Earth in the month of May. Of those 10 shuttles and our 5 orbiters, Marty, it's interesting that Atlantis has half of the missions, 5 of them. You see I have a little initial there for A or E for Endeavour. As we launched on May 4th in the upper left, STS-30 in 1989 was Atlantis. And a few days ago, on the 7th of May, we launched STS-49 on its maiden journey of Endeavour, the spaceship that replaced the Challenger. And tomorrow, May 11th, will be the launch of STS-125 in 2009, 13 years ago, by Atlantis, which is over, again, about 12 miles from us at Kennedy Visitors Complex. And this is what is going on behind us here is you've got 2 shuttles. Behind my shoulder is Atlantis on pad 39A. And in the distance is 39B. There's even a rainbow thrown in there. And I'll bet Mark Usiak or Tom, the 2 brother shuttle photographers, know who took this picture. Obviously an aerial, because they didn't have drones there, so it was an airplane. Why did they do that? Well, I'm going to tease you a little further, and we'll find out why they had 2 shuttles on the pad. But first, let's do a little bit of Space News Roundup, where today engineers are say they're making progress on the Space Launch System shown here in the vehicle assembly building a couple of days ago in a NASA photo. Engineers are making progress resolving their problems that derailed 3 earlier attempts to fuel this rocket out on the launch pad. So they brought it back in. The wet dress rehearsals, or WDR in NASA speak, they had 3 of them that revealed problems with valves and so forth. So they're fixing those problems, and a NASA spokesman says that they are on target to press ahead for a mid-June 4th attempt to fuel up this mighty rocket. And so, Marty, that means they'll be pulling it out back out of the VAB when they're ready, early June, and then do the wet dress rehearsal and press ahead for a long-awaited August timeframe for launch. And that's certainly a lot earlier than people were thinking, particularly the hoteliers that I deal with in Chamber of Commerce news, where they've been told, look forward to October when the throngs of people will be coming to see the Space Launch System launched. And so, but NASA's thinking they might launch it in August, and believe you me, it will be the biggest crowd since probably the launch of Apollo 11, because it's going to be billed the launch of the biggest rocket ever. Well, it is, with those two pop bottle rockets strapped onto it. Says all the Apollo era guys, right? Because the Saturn V rocket was completely liquid fueled, while this will have 4 shuttle engines liquid fueled on it, 4 reusable space shuttle engines, and then 2 solid rocket boosters on the side. Still, it's going to shake some rattle and roll around here when they launch that rocket. In other space news, on Collect Space is a story that a statue built for the first American woman to fly in space will soon stand near where the first lunar landers were built, just as NASA is aiming to land the first woman on the moon. This is the statue of Sally Ride, the Cradle of Aviation Museum in Garden City, New York, not too far from Bethpage, that built the lunar modules, will host the Sally Ride statue. It's going to be unveiled in a public ceremony in about a month, June 17th, just one day shy of the 39th anniversary of her first launch, which was STS-7. We are proud and honored to have this, says the president of the Cradle of Aviation. It'll be a bronze statue erected in the new Sally Ride Circle outside the entrance to the museum. The Cradle of Aviation has 70 aircraft, exhibits LM-13, an unused Apollo lunar module built right there in Bethpage. So we'll look forward to seeing that, because I told Marty I want a road trip to Long Island, and the Cradle of Aviation is on my bucket list. Also in news today, China will look for alien planets, Marty. They have given the okay to build the Earth 2.0 telescope that will spend 4 years orbiting the Sun and Earth in the Lagrange Point 2, about 1 million miles from Earth. That's where they put the Webb telescope, by the way. Plenty of room out there for lots of telescopes. It has 7 telescopes in its design, and it will target Earth-size exoplanets, looking for them orbiting sun-like stars, particularly in what we call the Goldilocks zone, not too close or not too far away. So China is going to look for planets outside our solar system, and America has found over 5,000 of them with various telescopes that we've orbited. And finally, in news around the solar system, so to speak, astronomers revealed that they've discovered 1,500 new asteroids hidden in data gathered by the Hubble Space Telescope. Now, this is a picture, Marty, of the Crab Nebula, but as you see, cutting across the Crab Nebula is kind of a white trail of dots right there. Up from my arm go these white trail of dots, and that is an asteroid. Yep, that is the signature of an asteroid's reflection during a long exposure cutting through this Hubble telescope, which is an incredible image of the Crab Nebula, showing you gravity waves moving clouds through this star that blew up in 1054 AD. So, in a new study, astronomers and teams of amateur scientists are working together to comb through the archives of the Hubble data, that we have 32 years worth of archives now. And they have discovered over 1,500 new asteroids that no one knew. One astronomer's trash can be another astronomer's treasure, says the leading researcher at the Max Planck Institute for Extraterrestrial Physics, an incredible new branch of science. So, a couple news items to keep you staying curious here at the American Space Museum. And we want to have 2 birthdays, all right? Happy birthday to Ellen Ochoa. Minimize her, Marty, so we can put the sign up there. Happy 64th birthday to the first Hispanic astronaut, Ellen Ochoa, playing the flute here on her first trip to space of 4, STS-56. She was a mission specialist. She is a classical flautist and played with the Stanford Symphony, okay? when she was going to college there. And there she is in space. This next picture is her in her official NASA photo when she was the second woman and the first Hispanic director at Johnson Space Center. All right. Ellen Ochoa was born May 10th, 1958 in Los Angeles, California, graduated from Grossmont High in El Cajon. She is a Bachelor of Science at San Diego and got her master's and doctorate degree at Stanford in electrical engineering. 4 veteran flights, 1,000 hours in space, which is 41 days. She retired from the important job she had as Johnson Space Center director. 6 years she held that. In 2018, she retired. So, and here she is after one of her flights. I believe this was after her flight 96 in 1999 with one of her 2 sons, Miles, or Wilson is his name there. So, and just to remind y'all, happy 64th birthday to a mother of 2 children, astronaut Ellen Ochoa. Very popular astronaut. Would love to meet her and have her on Stay Curious sometime, Marty. And yesterday, we don't want to forget this guy's birthday because he's 91 years old, Vance Brand, this Apollo-era astronaut and 3-time shuttle commander. Have we got a great story about that. Mr. Brand, we love you for helping our museum. Karen Conklin, our executive director, says, happy birthday. And next time you're in the museum, don't just leave a note. Stand there until someone comes. Yes, Mr. Brandt came into our museum in 2017. He would have been a moonwalker on one of the canceled missions. By the way, born in Longmont, Colorado, May 9th, 1931, 91 years old, and still rocking some long hair like in this picture a couple years ago. Well, he came in with the long silver hair into our museum 5 years ago, paid his $8 senior citizen. Then he looked around at the Apollo-Soyuz Test Project exhibit where he donated some of our items. The docent here didn't recognize him, said, "Hi, sir, can I help you?" And he says, "No, do you want a tour?" "No, I don't want a tour." And just kind of was polite and milled around the museum for 15, 20 minutes. And then we went up to the front desk. Vance Brand asked for a piece of paper and a pencil. He writes a note to Charlie Mars, our godfather executive director, and his good friend, because Charlie dealt with the astronauts from Grumman and the lunar module. And Brand was one of those. So he left out the door, and our up front person took the note back to Karen Conklin, who reads it and comes running out. "Where'd Vance go?" And he quickly took off after seeing his space treasures here in our museum. So quite obviously a humble guy coming in here incognito, wanting no one to really care that they knew who he was. His 4 flights, the 3 shuttle flights, all a commander, okay. He was on the Apollo-Soyuz Test Project in 1975, his first flight with Deke Slayton, the Mercury astronaut, and, of course, the general, Tom Stafford, who's also 91 years old. So both these guys been to space and both are 91, and I'll bet they had a great conversation on the phone the other day. And then he commanded the first operational space shuttle, STS-5, I think that had been well, let's consult the shuttle scroll here. I know someone will connect me here. STS-5, 1982, November 82, with Overmyer, who's passed away, Lenore, and Joe Allen. I think Lenore's passed away, too. So one of 19 astronauts selected in 1966. He definitely was going to be a moonwalker had they not canceled the last 3 flights. He was backup on 15, which would have made him a backup commander on 15, would have made him commander of 18. He was also backup commander for Skylabs 3 and 4. Highly decorated, and the Longmont Airport in Colorado bears this wonderful man's name. Could have shown you a few more pictures. There's Vance in the tunnel of the Apollo-Soyuz Test Project there. And there he is a few years ago in his 80s. Loves Colorado. he has some harrowing tales of his space flights. So happy birthday to you, Mr. Vance Brand. Well, Shuttles of May, Marty. One of my favorite months because of the weather. It's beautiful everywhere you go. Here are the Shuttles of May. We have, to recap them, we've got, like I said, 5 Atlantis, 2 Discovery, and 3 Endeavor. All right. So Discovery, our workhorse of the shuttle era, with 39 flights, has only 2 in the month of May, and no space flights for Columbia or Challenger in the month of May. Very interesting. Of these 10 flights, 5 were hard hat missions, I call them, to the International Space Station, construction missions that take up pieces and parts and do spacewalks. 1 was the Mir mission, our last visit to Mir, I believe, and that's STS. It's the 6th Mir docking. That's STS 84. There on the far right, that was the 6th Mir docking in '97. The last flight of Endeavor, STS OV 105, is its tail number in 2011, which I pretty much know that was the 25th and final flight for Endeavor. The last Hubble mission we're going to talk about in a minute, STS 125, there in the middle, the beautiful star pattern vertical logo. And the first interplanetary mission was STS 30, there on the far left. So a lot of space shuttle missions going on to build our beautiful space station. 65 astronauts involved in that. Of those 65 astronauts, quickly, there's only about 6 women. I have that note somewhere. Cleve is one of them, and MacArthur, and Eileen Collins was pilot of 84 in Cleve. So I'll get that number as we go through the month of May here with how many women were in those 56 or 65 astronauts that can say they went to space in the month of May. Well, one of the missions that's really cool was the maiden flight. Any maiden flight's a cool flight, but this is Endeavor. Endeavor, named after the Captain Cook ship out of England, his first voyage of discovery. And I am looking for my notes on that. You have these flags on the top, okay? Look at those flags, Marty, the blue and yellow and green and white. And those are flags of these schools that won the contest to name Endeavor. This was a replacement orbiter for the Columbia that was destroyed, of course, in 1986, 70 seconds into launch. And it cost $1.7 billion to build in 1990s, all right, early 90s, which would be almost $4 billion today. So when you're talking about our $2 billion space shuttles, all right, they'd cost $4 billion today. This maiden flight was 8 days. Those are the flag colors of an elementary school in Mississippi and a high school in Alabama. They were pulled out of a hat. About a third of the entries wanted Endeavor. And there was thousands and thousands of entries that President George Herbert Walker Bush promoted to embrace the country's grief over Challenger, and with the replacement of this wonderful, wonderful spaceship. This was the first EVA involving 3 astronauts. We talked about that the other day, where you had astronaut Richard Hebe, Tom Akers, and Pierre Thote. Went out to grab this Intelsat communication satellite. It didn't have any grappling fixtures on it for the robotic arm because it was supposed to go to orbit on an Atlas III rocket which got it this far up to orbit, and then the attached rocket on it to get it up to geosynchronous orbit, 22,000 miles high, didn't make it. So they attached a new geosynchronous rocket to put it up there, and it worked. First shuttle mission to feature 4 extravehicular activities. they attached a live rocket to this motor, and all right, and then it actually worked. So that was pretty cool. And is the first shuttle to use a drag chute to land. All right, there at Edwards Air Force Base when it came down on May 16th. Well, from today, on May 10th, this is the only shuttle orbiting Earth in the month of May. All right, but by the time it landed, there was 5 shuttles orbiting the Earth that had been launched in the next 6 days. STS-125. Yes, let me got. Oh, there's the. Yeah, I didn't throw that in there. STS-125 here is launched on the 11th. 132 was a supply mission to ISS in 2010 that took Dexter, the robotic outside helper. STS-84 in 97, which went to Mir, and STS-134 in 2011 would be 5 shuttles that would be in the orbiting Earth on May 16th when STS-49 comes down, landing like we're talking here. So, and we love finding the dates in history when we've got all these shuttles flying around and think of all the astronauts involved. But there's a couple dates in history, I'll bet, that there's no shuttles flying. And we're going to check that out as we go along with our shuttles of the month every year. And, of course, we had Voice of NASA Hugh Harris kick that off with us toward the beginning of the month. Hugh was on May 4th. And we have Mikey Haddad, who is bringing us Payloads of the Month. So we are featuring shuttles of the month 2 or 3 times a week, all for your enjoyment. Well, let's look at STS-125 and why we've got 2 shuttles on the pad. Well, it was the logistics and fear that this late in the program, if something went wrong with STS-125, how would we get those astronauts back? Because the Hubble is about 400 miles high orbiting Earth. The International Space Station is around 200 to 225 miles. They try to keep up about 225. So the Hubble's actually orbiting twice as high, which is a whole different trajectory and fuel profile for the shuttle to reach it. And if something would go wrong above 250, 300 miles, it would never be able to get back to the space station as a safe haven. So they put Endeavour out on the pad and called it STS-400. And we'll ask Triple T about that this Friday. By the way, he's still feeling a little under the weather, so we hope he can come. I got a frog in my throat here. Hold on a second. A Triple T frog. Whew! That's pretty strong today, Marty. What'd you put in there? Anyway, look at, there's even a rainbow there. What a photograph, huh? So they had 2 shuttles out on the pad. This one was ready to go in case they needed it to go to the 400 miles. With 7 astronauts on this STS-125, I have no idea about the profile and configuration of astronauts on this flight, but I would think they would just take a commander and a pilot, wouldn't you, Marty? Because they'd be bringing back 7 people, which they could do. We brought back 8 before, maybe 9 maybe we brought back Thagard and another Russian on a 7-flight Mir rendezvous. But that's why we're doing these, because I'm curious now. But gorgeous photograph. I'll bet Mark Usiak's probably told you already who shot the photo. Nope. All right. He's busy working like he should be. All right. Here are the cool cats of STS-125 met by Top Gun Scott Altman. And you had Box Johnson on there. Box Johnson's birthday's coming up here in the next day or two. Gregory Johnson. Michael Massimino, who was frequently on The Big Bang Theory as the American astronaut on the space station when the character Wolowitz was up there. Michael Good. Megan MacArthur's the lady, and she's the last human being to robotically touch the space station, or the Hubble telescope. And John Grunsfield and Andrew Feutzel our mission specialist. And I do believe John Grunsfeld is credited as his gloved hand is the last thing to touch it. 12 years ago, folks, was the last repair, not really repair mission, upgrade mission, where they put new gyros. They spent, it's a almost 13-day mission. So, man, 10 of that was EVAs digging into the guts of this telescope that wasn't intended to be so overhauled, upgrading it. It was guaranteed to last 15 years, and we're into the 32nd year. But 13 years ago is the last time we saw it with our own eyeballs. These were the astronauts that did it. And here they are working in that tight space in there, doing all kinds of repairs and upgrades for this. It's going to go down as one of the most fabulous scientific instruments ever built by mankind, the Hubble telescope. And with it still working well, they've had some glitches along the way where they shut it down occasionally. But with some glitches along the way, it's recovered, and they've reworked around some of the computer problems mostly. But the gyroscopes that are turning, I think there's 6 of them, and when you turn those gyroscopes, they move things around. There's no fuel moving this around. It's all gyroscopes, and when those fail, basically they get wore out. There's plenty of energy with those solar panels. But when they fail, then it'll start getting wobbly, and it'll come down, and we don't know where it'll come down, but maybe one of them big shot billionaires like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos will put together a space tug to go rescue it or bring it to a controlled re-entry. I guarantee you there's a space tug on the drawing board somewhere out there that someone knows how to grab this and bring it to the space station. Wouldn't that be cool? So, well, Marty, we've gone through a couple of the great missions ahead. We've got a hard hat mission to the space station, STS-132. That one took up, like I said, the Dexter little stick figure type of looking thing that slides along a rail and does maintenance on the space station. That we'll have that on the 14th, and then the next day on the 15th, the 6th Mir docking of a space station to the Mir, and then the penultimate flight, the ultimate flight of STS-134 of the whole program. The third from last is on May 16th, 2011, and we'll certainly talk a little bit about that and look at Endeavour, the newest of the spaceships, and they were just flying so flawlessly and perfectly when they got grounded, and Endeavour is in the California Institute or California Science Museum. So great. Well, Marty, any questions about anybody out there? Thank you for a good show there today. I appreciate everybody watching. All right. We've got a little special show. Yeah?
No questions, but Tom Usack said Vance made the first landing at KSC.
Vance Brand made the first landing at KSC. And I wonder if Tom was there to see that.
And Robert Lord was visited by Vance a few times.
All right. Did he have his long hair, Robert? He's kind of known for that shoulder-length hair now there. But great guy. I did talk to him 5 years ago when they had the astronauts autographing out at Kennedy Visitors Complex. Very nice man. And, of course they're going to be nice in that kind of setup and environment. But what a cool cat to come in here anonymously, leave a note, and well, I will tell him that story when I see him next time. Anyway, we have a special show that we want you to tune into tomorrow. Oh my gosh, it's got to be with Trekkie Techie. That's right. Jessica Galloway is going to come on board and tell us about the USS Canopus, named after a star in the sky. And we're going to do a little program about 4 stars or star systems in the sky that are very popular in the Star Trek world. And she's going to talk about the Star Trek world, and I'm going to do a midweek Stargazer Mark about the stars of Star Trek, all right? So I hope you'll boldly go with us, all right, on that trip, as Trekkie Techie is excited, and we're doing a little homework on this special program that we'll do a couple times. As there's over 50 stars in the sky, I learned, that is part of this Star Trek world out there. So you're not going to want to miss that. Until then, I'm Mark Marquette, and we'll see you tomorrow to bridge the space between us.